It's September 2008, and I want to talk about the future, and I want to talk about it from the point of view of maximizing utility and efficient markets. That's the MU and the EM up there. And the idea is if billions of us are maximizing utility and we can operate in relatively efficient markets, so what does it mean for the future? And I definitely want to get away from this kind of stuff you hear in the press. For example, the story that China is an up-and-coming country. Just to get some color on that, when I was in high school, which goes way back to the 1970s, I took a business and economics course, and the teacher talked about the factors of production: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. And he asked the class, which country has those? And the answer was China. That was 1976 or 1977, I forget exactly which. But we know about the general magnitude of China. And I want to get away from things like the story we hear about by the year 2040 that white people will no longer be a majority in America and what's going to happen. I think that race is not a real big issue. I think economic status is a big issue. And I want to get away from the other kind of hand-wringing things about when the baby boom retires, what's going to happen. The baby boom has a principle that it gets stretched out. And good economists like myself would say people work around that. Let me explain what I mean by that. One thing about the baby boom that you don't hear a lot about when you read about it in the press is that the effects of the baby boom, the other big economic impacts of the baby boom, get spread out over time. So we know that the baby boom generation was born between 1946 and 1964. Some purists say start with 1951. But in either case, it represents a period of fewer than 20 years. So let's say this range here represents the years in which the baby boom generation was born. Now, the people of the baby boom, they got their education spanning a lot more than 20 years. There's some baby boomers who are still finishing their college degree today. And same thing about work and about getting married. Some baby boomers started work when they were 13 or got married when they were 15. Some won't get married at all, perhaps. Some will get married when they're in their 40s. Some people won't start work until they finish their PhD, whatever, in age 37. But the spreading out of these economic effects attenuate the initial impact of the cohort. Same thing with retiring and dying. Some baby boomers already retired 10, 15, 20 years ago, may never retire, who knows. The media has us all retiring in that same 20-year block. Because we were born in that tight block, we retire in that tight block, but that's not the case. And the same thing with dying. Some baby boomers died the day they were born. Some maybe will live to the year 2100, I don't know. But the point is that the generation gets spread out, and the economic effects of it get spread out. Let's see what maximized utility and efficient markets tell us about the future. Let's make some speculations. Warning, this is not for people over the age of 30. The future. What do maximizing utility and efficient markets imply about the future? Some speculations. I have them in three groups: macro, micro, and then social, political, and international. I think in the future, standard monetary policy will fade away. I don't mean the kind of monetary policy we're doing this year, in the year 2008, which is the troubleshooting, lender of last resort policy, but I mean the lowering or the raising of the Fed funds target rate to try to stimulate change rates in the economy and transmit through to other rates. That kind of policy is gone. I think that people who talk the macro talk, whether they're great economists or pundits, the big C is going to go up, or we're hoping it goes up, or we're hoping China pulls the U.S. economy out of recession, or we're hoping for low interest rate. I think they're going to go down looking like fools. That's a fool's science. I think in the future that people will hope for high interest rates. In general, you want high interest rates in your society. The reason why throughout our lifetimes we've always wanted low interest rate is an aberration. It comes out of that Keynesian story that the economy's all screwed up and you've got to trick people into making contracts by lowering rates on one side. This is a perverse story. In the future, you're going to want high interest rates. There'll be the end of the business cycle. In my adult lifetime, we've had business cycles in 1990, 91, or recessions, and in 2001, and we're looking at one now. But it's going to be a different kind of recession if it happens. It's going to be a protracted one. There's no cycle out there. And you'll see fewer market beaters, fewer of these George Soroses and these Renaissance technologies, these investors who return 35% per year for 30 years in a row. These things will disappear. Largely, these people were just financial pioneers, not really investors. They had a first-comer advantage. But I do think that in the future, you'll see fewer of these great market beaters. And you're going to see a convergence of rates of return. There'll always be more rate of return if you take more risk. But the idea that you're going to get an 8% real rate of return by buying stocks in the future is very, very dubious.